Neria had just turned 28 when her boyfriend of 7 years, Laren, finally proposed. It happened during a surprise trip to the beach. The sky burned gold as the sun sank into the horizon, and the sound of waves blended with her laughter. When Laren went down on one knee, she covered her mouth in shock. The ring sparkled under the fading light, simple, elegant, and perfect. "Yes," she whispered, tears glimmering in her eyes. The crowd around them clapped softly. It was everything she had dreamed of. And as she hugged him tight, she thought life was finally good. Before we continue, please subscribe, like, and comment where you're watching from so you don't miss out on our next story. But peace had never lasted long in Neria's world. Her family had a way of turning joy into confusion. Her younger sister, Amina, was 26, loud, adored, and spoiled beyond reason. Their parents treated her like she was made of gold. If Amina failed, they made excuses. If Neria succeeded, they said, "You only got lucky." It had been that way all her life. So when Neria called home to share the news of her engagement, her mother gasped in delight for about 2 seconds before asking, "Does Amina know yet?" Her father added gently, "Don't make your sister feel left out, dear." Neria blinked. Left out? It was her engagement, not a group project. She brushed it off, telling herself she wouldn't let her sister ruin this. When her parents suggested a family vacation to celebrate, Laren was hesitant. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" he asked. "Your sister doesn't exactly like sharing the spotlight." Neria smiled weakly. "It'll be fine. Maybe it's time we all just move forward." Deep down, she knew better, but hope made her foolish sometimes. The beach resort was beautiful. White sand, blue water, and a warm breeze that smelled like salt and mango. But the tension began the moment Amina arrived, fashionably late as always. She strutted into the restaurant wearing oversized sunglasses and a dress that screamed, "Look at me." "Sorry, traffic," she said casually, sliding into her seat like royalty. During dinner, she looked at Neria's hand and laughed. "That's your ring? It's delicate. Jason got me something heavier." Her fiancé looked embarrassed, but no one corrected her. Their parents chuckled awkwardly. Neria smiled through it, though Laren's jaw tightened beside her. The next morning, their mother suggested family photos by the shore. Neria agreed, though her stomach twisted. When it was time for the sister shot, Amina held her hand dramatically, admiring the ring. "You sure this won't fall off? It's so light, it might just float away," she teased. Neria forced a laugh, but before she could reply, Amina's hand flicked sharply, so fast it was almost a blur. The ring flew through the air and vanished into the ocean. "Oh no!" Amina gasped with mock horror. "It slipped." Everyone froze. Neria's heart dropped. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then her mother scolded her, not Amina, for overreacting. Her father muttered, "It's just an accident." Laren was already in the water, diving where the waves crashed, searching for the ring. Neria joined him, trembling, but the ocean kept it secret. After several minutes, they gave up. The ring was gone. Amina's voice came from behind, full of false sweetness. "Maybe you shouldn't wear something so loose next time," she said. Neria turned, wet hair clinging to her face. "You did that on purpose," she hissed. But her parents stepped between them. "Let it go," her mother said. "Rings can be replaced." Neria's silence burned hotter than the sun. That night, the family pretended nothing had happened. They played board games in the lounge, laughing too loudly, trying to bury the tension. But Neria couldn't. She pulled Amina aside behind the hotel, the waves crashing faintly in the distance. "Why did you do it?" she demanded. Amina rolled her eyes. "You're so sensitive." "It was a joke." "A joke." Neria's voice cracked. "You threw my ring into the ocean." Amina smirked. "Relax. You'll get another one. You always act like the world's against you." Neria wanted to scream, but footsteps interrupted them. Jason, Amina's fiancé, stood nearby, looking uneasy. Jason had overheard enough to understand. His eyes darted between them. "Amina, tell me you didn't actually do that," he said quietly. Amina's lips twisted. It was an accident, she snapped. Jason looked disappointed. Nerea saw it, the crack in his trust. That small moment planted a seed that would soon grow. You didn't need to come here, Amina told her sister coldly. You just love drama. Nerea smiled faintly. No, I just love the truth. When she walked away, Amina's glare followed her, like a knife in the dark. By the end of the trip, everyone was pretending to be fine, but the air was heavy. Laren tried to comfort her, whispering, "She won't change until someone stops her." Nerea nodded. She'd spent her life being the bigger person, the quiet one, the one who forgave. But that day on the beach had changed something inside her. For the first time, she wasn't going to let Amina get away with it. If her sister wanted to play games, Nerea was finally ready to play back. Only smarter. Back home, Nerea couldn't shake off the image of Amina's smirk as the ring disappeared beneath the waves. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it again, heard the fake gasp, and her mother's soft scolding echoing after. Laren tried to comfort her. "She'll never admit what she did," he said one night. "But that doesn't mean she gets away with it." Nerea looked at him thoughtfully. "Then maybe it's time I stop letting her." For once, Laren didn't tell her to be patient. He just nodded and said, "Then let's do it your way." Days passed before Nerea began to act. She started small, scrolling through Amina's social media pages late at night. Pictures of smiles, fancy dresses, and captions like "grateful for everything" filled her screen. But beneath the glitter, Nerea noticed things others would have missed. There were comments from a man she didn't recognize, short, casual, but strangely personal. His name was Kellen, and he worked at the same company as Amina. Something about the tone made her uneasy. "Laren," she said one evening, showing him the posts. "Does that look normal to you?" He leaned closer, smirking. "Normal?
No.
Interesting? Definitely." Encouraged, Nerea looked deeper. A tagged video surfaced, Amina dancing at a work event. Jason wasn't there, but Kellen was. The way Amina leaned close to him, laughing into his ear, told its own story. Nerea saved the video, heart-pounding. "You think she's cheating?" Laren asked. "I think she's exactly who I've always known her to be," Nerea replied. "And maybe now, everyone else will see it too." 2 days later, her phone rang. It was Jason. "I just wanted to clear the air," he began hesitantly. "About the beach." His voice sounded strained. "I didn't like how she acted, but it's complicated." Nerea listened quietly as he confessed that he'd been doubting the relationship for months. "She's always angry, always right. I thought it would change, but it's only getting worse." Nerea's fingers tightened around the phone. "Jason," she said softly, "you deserve someone who doesn't make you question your worth." He sighed, the sound full of exhaustion. That conversation planted something firm in Nerea's mind. Resolve. When Nerea next visited her parents, she tried to reason with them. "You always defend her," she said. "Don't you see what that's done?" Her mother frowned. "You're making this bigger than it is. Amina's just under pressure." Her father added, "You're jealous, Nerea. You always have been." Nerea laughed bitterly. "Jealous? Of someone who ruins everything she touches." She left before they could answer. Outside, the evening air was heavy and warm, but her mind felt clear for the first time in years. Later that week, Nerea reached out to an old friend of Amina's, a woman named Kira, who'd cut ties years ago. "I've been waiting for someone to ask about her," Kira admitted. "She used to lie, twist stories, turn people against each other. That's why I left." Then Kira said something that made Nerea's pulse quicken. "She's been texting a guy from her office. A rich one. She told me he's obsessed with her." Nerea felt a sharp rush of satisfaction. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You've helped more than you know." At the next family dinner, Nerea tested the waters. "Oh, I heard about someone from your office," she said casually, slicing into her food. "Kellen, right?" Amina froze for half a second before forcing a smile. "He's just a coworker." Jason's eyes flickered toward her, suspicion beginning to form. Nerea leaned back in her chair, pretending not to notice. Laren caught her eye across the table, hiding a small, approving grin. That night, Amina cornered her near the restroom. "You think you're clever?" she hissed. Neria met her glare evenly.
No.
"I just think it's time someone else saw the truth." The tension in the air thickened with every passing day. Jason became more distant, quietly watching Amina's every move. Her excuses, working late, being too tired, no longer sounded convincing. Then one evening, Kira sent Neria a message. Attached were screenshots. Amina's text to Kellen. "Can't wait to sneak out again. Jason will never know." Neria stared at them for a long time before whispering, "Got you." When she showed Laren, he nodded slowly. "So, what's the plan?" She smiled faintly. "Let's make sure everyone knows who she really is." A week later came Jason's birthday dinner. Amina had planned every detail, flowers, cake, and a crowd to admire her. But Neria had planned something too. She tucked a manila folder inside her bag, her heart beating in calm rhythm. "You're sure about this?" Laren whispered as they entered the restaurant. "Completely," she said. They took their seats quietly. Amina was glowing, performing her happiness for the world. When she stood to toast Jason, her words dripped with sweetness. Neria waited. She knew the real show was yet to begin. When dessert arrived, the candles flickered softly over the table. Neria reached into her bag and slid the manila folder toward Jason without saying a word. Amina's laughter died mid-sentence. "What's that?" she asked, her voice sharp. Jason opened it slowly. His expression changed with each page, shock, confusion, then anger. The guests went quiet, forks pausing midair. "Amina," Jason said finally, his voice low. "Are these your messages?" She reached for the folder, but he pulled it away. "Don't," he warned. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Amina's lips trembled. "It's fake," she shouted suddenly, turning to the guests. "She's lying. She wants to ruin me, because she's jealous." Neria didn't respond.
She didn't need to.
The words in the screenshots spoke for themselves. Jason's face was pale. "You wrote about sneaking out with someone else," he said, his tone breaking. "You said he was more exciting." The guests began whispering among themselves. Amina's hands shook as she looked around the room, realizing no one believed her. "Jason, please." But Jason stood up, eyes hard. "We're done." He walked out, folder still in hand. The restaurant buzzed with murmurs. Amina's tears started instantly. Loud, theatrical sobs. "You ruined my life," she screamed at Neria. "You've always wanted to destroy me." Their parents rushed to her side, glaring at Neria. "How could you do this to your sister?" her mother cried. Neria stood still, calm as water. "I didn't do anything," she said. "She did." And for once, no one could argue. The next morning, social media exploded. Jason had changed his relationship status to single. Friends who had doubted Neria before were now messaging her privately. "We should have seen this coming." Others sent screenshots of Amina's desperate posts, cryptic lines about betrayal and family snakes. But the sympathy she expected never came. People saw through her act. "The truth always comes out," Laren murmured as he handed Neria her morning coffee. "Yeah," she replied quietly. And this time, it came out perfectly. As Amina's world crumbled, her parents clung to denial. "You went too far," her father told Neria over the phone. "She's suffering." Neria exhaled slowly. "She's suffering because of her choices, not mine." Her mother's voice cracked on the other line. "You're tearing the family apart." "No," Neria said softly. "I'm refusing to let it tear me apart anymore." She hung up, heart pounding, not from guilt, but from relief. Over the next few days, messages poured in. Old relatives, distant cousins, people who'd stayed silent for years, sent their quiet support. "We always knew something was off," one aunt wrote. But no one wanted to say it. For the first time, Neria realized she wasn't alone in seeing Amina's true nature. Laren smiled as she read the messages aloud. "You started something," he said proudly. "You stood up for yourself, and now everyone sees the truth." Neria smiled faintly. "Feels strange, doesn't it? To finally win without shouting." Amina, meanwhile, was spiraling. Her job became unbearable as whispers spread through her office. Someone had shared the screenshots Jason exposed, and soon, her reputation crumbled. She's unstable, one colleague had said online. Always thought she was fake. When Neria heard, she felt no joy, just quiet closure. I don't hate her, she told Laren one evening. I just don't want her near my peace ever again. He nodded. That's not revenge, love. That's freedom. But Amina didn't stop. She started telling anyone who would listen that Neria had forged everything. She's obsessed with ruining me, she cried to family and friends. Some people believed her at first. But then Jason posted a public statement, short and sharp. The evidence is real. Thank you, Neria, for opening my eyes. The entire family saw it. Those who doubted her fell silent. Laren showed her the post with a grin. He handled that better than I expected. Neria smiled tiredly. He just wanted the truth out. Like me. The fallout hit Amina harder than anyone predicted. At work, the rumors about her affair reached management. When word got out that her coworker was married, things exploded. The man's wife filed a formal complaint, and both were investigated. Soon after, Amina was suspended. Her parents blamed Neria, of course. You've destroyed her career, her mother cried over the phone. Neria simply replied, no. She destroyed it herself. She hung up before tears could fall. For the first time in her life, she wasn't the one apologizing. As days turned into weeks, the distance between Neria and her parents grew wider. They called constantly, switching between guilt and anger. You're cruel, her mother said during one heated call. You're supposed to protect your sister. Neria laughed softly. Protect her from what? The truth. Her father threatened to cut her off financially, but she only smiled. You can't take what I no longer need, she said, and ended the call. That silence afterward was louder than any argument they'd ever had. Amina's isolation deepened. Jason had blocked her on every platform, her co-workers avoided her, and even her closest friends had gone quiet. She showed up at Neria's apartment one rainy evening, banging on the door. Open up, she yelled. When Neria finally did, Amina stormed inside, eyes red. You ruined my life, she screamed. Laren stepped forward calmly. You need to leave, he said firmly. You don't belong here. Amina turned her fury on him. You're defending her? She's poison. No, he replied. She's just done being your victim. Then he escorted her out, locking the door behind her. Her screams faded into the rain. That night, Neria sat by the window, watching droplets slide down the glass. Did I go too far? She asked quietly. Laren turned toward her, his voice gentle. You went far enough. You stood up for yourself, and that's something no one taught you to do. She smiled weakly. It doesn't feel like victory. It just feels necessary. He wrapped his arms around her. Necessary is enough. Her parents refused to give up their control. They sent her an ultimatum, either make peace with Amina or be excluded from family events. Neria read the message twice, then placed her phone down. Looks like they've made their choice, she said. Laren shrugged. Then we make ours. Neria texted back one word. Understood. That night, she didn't cry. She just breathed easier, as if she had finally untangled herself from years of emotional strings. But then, an unexpected call came from her Aunt Mira, her father's estranged sister. I saw what happened, the older woman said softly. I went through the same thing. Your father was always favored, and it nearly broke me. Neria blinked, stunned. You understand? More than you think, Aunt Mira replied. You did the right thing, dear. Sometimes walking away from family is the only way to stay sane. Those words sank deep into Neria's heart, healing a wound she didn't even know was still open. Meanwhile, Amina continued to spiral. She posted cryptic quotes online, vague messages about betrayal and fake friends. Her followers, once loyal, began to drift away. Maybe you should apologize instead of blaming everyone, one comment read. She deleted it within minutes. At work, things worsened. Her suspension became permanent, and whispers spread that she might never be rehired in the same field. Neria heard the news through a friend, but she didn't celebrate. She just whispered, "I hope she finally learns." One evening, Laren surprised Neria with a candlelit dinner at home. The air smelled of vanilla and roasted herbs. "What's this for?" she asked, smiling. He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it. Inside was a new engagement ring, simple, elegant, and glowing softly in the candlelight. "This isn't to replace what was lost," he said. "It's to remind you that no one can take your joy again." Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "You always know what to say." "That's because I know who you are," he replied. Stronger than they ever thought. As Amina's scandals piled up, her parents began to waver. Relatives started calling them out directly. "You created this," one uncle said during a family gathering. "You never told her no." For the first time, her mother looked ashamed. "Maybe we did fail her," she murmured. Her father sighed. "But how do we fix it now?" "You can start," the uncle said, "by apologizing to the daughter who didn't deserve your neglect." That silence lingered long after the conversation ended. Even with a small shift in their tone, Neria stayed cautious. "They're changing because they're cornered," she told Laren one night. "Not because they finally understand." He nodded. "Then don't rush to forgive them. Let their actions prove it." Neria smiled faintly. "I will." She looked around their small apartment, filled with warmth and laughter, and realized it felt more like home than her childhood house ever did. "You know," she said softly, "peace doesn't always come from fixing things. Sometimes it comes from walking away." Weeks passed, and Emma's downfall deepened. She had burned bridges with almost everyone who once stood by her. Cousins stopped replying to her messages. Old friends avoided her calls. Even her parents, though still protective, were visibly tired. "She's still our daughter," her mother said weakly one evening over the phone. "And I'm still yours," Neria replied softly. "But you only ever showed up for one of us." Her father sighed. "Maybe we didn't know how." Neria didn't argue. She'd spent years explaining her pain. Now, she simply let the silence answer for her. When Amina's name was finally removed from the company roster, the news spread quickly. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was the consequence of every choice she'd made. She had everything, one relative said, shaking her head, and still managed to lose it all. Neria heard it from afar, detached, like an observer of someone else's tragedy. "You think she'll ever change?" Laren asked her one afternoon. Neria shook her head. "People like her don't change until the mirror shatters. She's still pretending the glass isn't broken." Her parents tried one last time to mend what was left. They invited Neria for dinner. She agreed cautiously. The house felt smaller than she remembered, the walls heavy with years of unspoken words. Her mother served her favorite meal, smiling nervously. "We just want peace," she said. Neria looked up from her plate. "Peace doesn't come from pretending," she replied. Her father's eyes glistened. "We were wrong," he admitted. "About you. About everything." For the first time in her life, she believed him, not because of his words, but because of his tone. Later that night, after leaving her parents' house, Neria and Laren walked quietly through the park. The air was cool, filled with the scent of jasmine. "Do you regret any of it?" he asked. She thought for a moment before shaking her head.
No.
"It hurt, but it taught me who I am. I stopped begging people to see my worth." He smiled and reached for her hand. "And now?" She squeezed his fingers. "Now I know peace doesn't need permission." Their wedding came quietly, a small ceremony surrounded by laughter, not tension. No grand stages, no fake smiles. Just people who loved them for who they were. Aunt Mira sat in the front row, tears glistening in her eyes. When Neria walked down the aisle, she caught Laren's gaze and saw pure love, steady, honest, and free of games. "You made it," he whispered when she reached him. "We made it," she corrected softly. The crowd cheered as they exchanged vows beneath the open sky, the past finally fading into distance. Amina didn't attend. She wasn't invited. But that didn't stop her from trying to interfere. A week before the wedding, she'd shown up unannounced at a pre-family gathering, shouting accusations and demanding attention. This time, Though no one defended her. Relatives spoke up one by one, reminding her of every cruel thing she'd done, every lie, every manipulation. Amina left that night in tears, her pride shattered. "She's running out of people to blame," Aunt Mira said afterward. Neria nodded. And maybe that's what she needs, to finally sit alone with herself. The wedding day itself was pure light. The music was soft, the smiles were real, and when Laren placed the ring on Neria's finger, she felt her chest tighten with gratitude. "No one can throw this one away," he joked quietly. She laughed, brushing a tear. "Not unless the ocean's invited." After the ceremony, they danced barefoot on the grass, surrounded by friends who cheered and cried and loved freely. It wasn't just a marriage, it was a rebirth. The start of a life unshaken by the noise of the past. In the months that followed, Neria shared her story online, not out of revenge, but to help others who'd lived through the same kind of family pain. The responses poured in from everywhere. Strangers thanking her for giving them courage, others sharing their own stories of favoritism, guilt, and survival. Among the comments, one caught her eye. It was from Jason. "You saved me from marrying the wrong person. I owe you my peace." Neria smiled at the screen, her heart full. For once, her story wasn't just about pain, it was about healing. Looking ahead, Neria finally understood what true family meant. It wasn't about blood or shared history. It was about love freely given, without conditions. As she and Laren sat together on their balcony one quiet evening, she whispered, "Do you think she'll ever forgive me?" Laren smiled softly. "You don't need her forgiveness, Neria. You needed your own." She leaned her head on his shoulder, the city lights shimmering below. "Then I guess I'm finally free." The ocean's memory lingered, not of what was lost, but of how far she'd come.